$31,075. The scope of work is the same as we discussed at last committee meeting. You'll see on page 3 of your packet, it's the same form that we included last month at committee. It's wetland surveys, marl fen surveys, rare plant surveys, and threatened and endangered species surveys, both plant and animal, to include some northern long-eared bat surveys.
Any questions, Ron?
No, move the question.
You good? Ron puts it on the floor. Second, please, by John. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Okay, no referral or pending items for this month. Under section 5 for information for discussion and review. Quick update for the soil contamination update for the new airport restaurant site. That is progressing as planned. The final soil samples have been taken. The building corners were restaked out this morning. We're preparing a map for DEC relative to the soil testing locations, and we expect to have that wrapped up shortly. Are there any questions? Next item, wanted to let the committee know that we have submitted a natural gas service request with National Grid for a natural gas distribution system at the airport. As you may recall, we've submitted a couple of grant applications to the state for a natural gas distribution system and conversion project for all the airport buildings. Currently there are 15 buildings, 2 proposed, 13 existing, 2 proposed buildings that would be able to be served by natural gas out at the airport. We are hoping that National Grid will fund the distribution system, extend the main and the distribution lines at their cost. And if that is the case, we will come back to the committee and propose some updates to our heating system so that we can convert our propane systems to natural gas. Should be a fairly simple, straightforward conversion if we are successful in getting National Grid to put the system in. Any questions? Okay, next item for discussion, we talked about possibly having the next airport committee meeting out at the airport. The regularly scheduled date for committee would be May 26th, Tuesday, May 26th. If everyone would prefer, we may have the committee meeting out at the airport. We'll get a bus and we'll provide a tour, and we can go through the airport facilities, the grounds, and answer any questions and provide a brief presentation for the committee.
Jeff, you have something?
Just on calendar-wise, I know that is the day after Memorial Day, and I know there's been some discussions on how that's going to shuffle committees around that week. So I think the date might flex a little bit. I guess if we can get general consensus from the committee on whether that the next meeting will be out there regardless of the date. I just don't want to get hung up on that date because I know it's a holiday week.
27th would be better for me, I think. Pencil that in as tentative. Unless everyone can check their calendars.
Either day is fine.
Wednesday's not good. Tuesday does work. Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think
About the Wednesday afternoon? Or are you talking Wednesday afternoon or morning?
I think Amanda and her staff has got to sort that out, and there'll be more communication as far as the exact schedule because, as I said, there's some shuffling going on. Normally DPW would be on that Monday, as well as some other committee meetings, but it is a holiday, so there's some shuffling going on. I guess what Ross and I are looking for today is just next committee, when it gets sorted out as far as schedule goes, we'll have it at the airport. And then I think along with that is our intent to do the full facilities committee there, so we'll do buildings and grounds and airport together out there.
Because we might have some stuff to go on with.
There are some, and I know from talking with Joan Sadie in the past and Amanda about it, there are some impacts for them too, because if there's other meetings scheduled here in the morning, they need time to, relocate and staff, so I think we got to give Amanda a chance to sort that out in the calendar.
The only thing I would say is, the sooner you have that date, even if we don't have the whole calendar, maybe you could send that out to the committee so we can, just kind of reserve that time. So I know otherwise we won't get that calendar before the meeting.
We can run it by everyone before we set it.
And our intent with that meeting will be to give kind of an overview, and we'll get probably a veterans bus, or we'll get some vehicles to be able to tour the airport. If there's something specific that you want to see, You know, please let myself or Ross know. Other than that, what we'll do is we'll plan kind of a facility overview. We'll you know, review, after our committee ends, we'll hop in the vehicle and we'll go around and tour the various project sites and various facilities all over the property.
Sounds good. Any other questions? Okay, I think that, anyone else have any questions come before the airport committee manager, et cetera? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you.
Proceeds to buildings and grounds.
Got more copies?
Yeah, they're coming.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, under action agenda, the first three items are a bid for, vending services. We had 3 different contract awards. The first is for beverage, the second is for snack and healthy snack, and the third is for a new meal vending plan.
Okay, would someone move the 3 of those? Evelyn, second by John. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
The next item is for overhead door replacement, repair, and maintenance or installation. It goes to Winchip Door, and I'm requesting a contract for that, or a resolution.
Okay, Evelyn put it on the floor, seconded by Supervisor Conover. Any questions? Okay, call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Yeah, the next item, Mr. Chairman, is approval of the revised concept design. Now we're transitioning over to the court project. Since the board had last voted on the concept plan, end of last year, our engineers, Clark Patterson Lee, as well as the court staff and OCA staff have been coordinating and refining that plan. And we're at a point now that OCA is generally on board. There may be a few minor tweaks to the plan, but we thought it prudent to have Clark Patterson Lee here, have Matt Smullen and John Norris here to give the committee and the audience here an update on the plan, review what has changed since the last time the board had voted on the plan. And then what we would like is committee approval to move forward with this concept. We're anticipating that the OCA Facilities Review Board will be meeting in the coming weeks and give their formal approval. So we'd like to have that in hand so that we can proceed with the project here and get other approvals ready for May. So I think we'd
Do you want
hand it over to Matt.
recognize
just
Matt
give
and
us-
John and
Sit here so we've got a microphone.
So yeah, as Jeff said, the last board action was adopting the current concept and authorizing moving forward with schematic design. So we prepared the schematic design plans, sent those to Office of Courts Administration for their architects to review. Received comments in February from Mr. Rodman, I believe, and then decided to get together with the county, Office of Courts Administration, and our group to talk about those comments and address them. The majority of them we would address with that group, and then responded back to Mr. Rodman with resolution of the comments. And the current plans that we have address those comments. And I think the most substantial comment was they wanted a pretty substantial reduction in the size of the courtrooms. We had a 1,600 square foot courtroom that accommodated 6 counsel tables, ADA access, full ADA access within the courtroom, and chairs, a back row of chairs at the back of the courtroom. They suggested that we bring the square footage down under 1,000 square feet to be in line with the other courtrooms. The other family courtrooms in the 4th Judicial District. So currently at 960 square feet, with a reduction to 3 counsel tables and a change to provide a pew at the back of the courtroom as opposed to chairs. A few other things got squeezed, and some other modifications exterior to the courtrooms.
Matt, could you just point that out on the map?
Sure, yeah. Point to this one. So this courtroom and this courtroom are the two family courtrooms that are essentially mirror images. Where there were 6 council tables in this area and a larger area, there are now 3.
I think you need to scale that down.
Jeff, hit that button, it's right next, no, go to your right, the next button over. Hit that one? And rotate view. Go view, rotate.
View.
Rotate
Rotate
view
view.
counterclockwise.
Maybe you could explain that mezzanine plan? I'm not sure I completely, with the arrow there, I'm not sure I completely understand what you're reflecting there.
Oh, there's a red button, maybe it'll leave.
Okay, this is planned for a multi-purpose, function. This is gonna be partially district attorney and partially courts. There is going to be on this side, this is gonna be for the courts. On this side, it's gonna be for the district attorney. We have district attorney waiting, we have a district attorney conference room, we have a reception area. These are all functions to respond to the grand jury, just so that you know. We couldn't, it's an awkward thing for us, I confess, that we plunked that in the middle of the courtyard. It's not a new built form in the courtyard, we just didn't know where to put it on the drawing, because we want to keep these things to scale as 11 by 17 for readability, but that thing is plunked on top of this. Realize right now you have a mezzanine that's 2-story. It's thought that the district attorney would want some spaces on the mezzanine above partially this area here.
So that's what that reflects?
Yes, I'm sorry. Basically, that
No, I
little
just wanted to
arrow
make
is
sure I
saying
was
this
reading it-
goes
I was
over
reading it
here.
correctly.
Yeah, it is not a built form in the courtyard. It's just, it was a difficulty of making sure you guys saw everything, but we didn't know where to put that whole thing.
Now, were there any substantial changes to this plan as originally
In
advanced?
summary, if I could highlight a few things, they wanted to minimize mechanization of handicap accessibility in the courtrooms. So we have provided provisions now for ramps as opposed to lifts. We have ramps in these courtrooms. We originally had some mechanized lifts. There was some discussion in here for Judge Muller's courtroom for the adjacency of the law clerk adjacent to the secretary, and that was incorporated as well. They were very strongly wanting a gang toilet room in the plan, so we provided a gang toilet back to back, and we at least tried to put it right near these court security. Everything from a code standpoint is compliant with regards to number of toilet rooms. But those are the comments.
There weren't any other comments that resulted in compromise to the original design, correct?
I'm looking at my 13 highlights of things that changed. Network closet sizes, they wanted, I think like about a certain size. We had to move that to make it a little bit bigger. Our closets were more rectangular, they wanted them more boxy. No, I think that really highlights the gist of things. Just so that you know, the size of this project didn't shrink or grow as a result of their comments. Realize that what we didn't bring up was the fact that we increased the judge chamber sizes per their request. That has changed over time since I was not a gray hair person, that the judge chamber sizes keep increasing every year. So anyways, we've increased the judge chamber sizes and that, and also we had more definition on the juvenile holding. That was like a hot potato, and nobody really wanted to capture it as to what the scope was. Finally, the New York State Commission of Corrections gave us direction, and we have 2 juvenile holding cells. So that's more developed now. So it is an equal to equal square footage from what was original.
And any exterior provisions, any exterior changes in terms of access?
The only thing that they, well, it's a detail. They want to talk in design development more about the window behavior at Judge Hall and the county courtroom relative to, we have a new vehicular sally port. These are, I just want to let you know, these are details. We are proposing higher windows. They're thinking, well, maybe you can stay with the same windows and put bars over them. So, I mean, I'm just letting you, just so you know what we're talking about. That was their exterior comment. Respectfully.
Does anyone
Really
else?
done more of a refinement of the scope and significant
Right,
changes.
I mean,
Right,
we're
the
talking
size
about.
of the family courtroom was
Right,
the
and
significant
what kind of
change.
walls are you gonna have here and here? Are they gonna be double walls? We have toilets? I mean, just so that you know, what are we, it's like state education department with schools. It's the same kind of thing. They review details as well as overall.
Thank you.
So
Anyone else have any questions? John?
so the exterior is gonna be brick to match the rest of the building?
Yes.
We have a miniature plan. We showed it at the Bar Association. But anyways, I'm sorry, we didn't expect, we would have blown it up for you, but it's mostly to kind of complement the HS building, to make it look a bookend, however, to have a lot of reflective details of this building. It's gonna be complementary. It's not gonna be standout-ish. It's not a Taj Mahal. It will have a focus entrance so people know where to go in. It will be masonry. It'll be dignified, but it's not gonna be fancy.
Are we gonna use this as an opportunity to fix the concrete entryway that we have now that's heaved and shifted and spalling?
It's not part of the project as of right now.
Yeah. Rachel?
I'm just wondering, these details, are they suggestions that you're getting from OCA, or are they mandates, like bars and courts from the? Do we have any room to negotiate? I guess we pay the price tag and they tell us the details, is that what I'm hearing?
Well, as Judge Krogman said, we do have our discussions with them, to hear positions on things.
I guess the best answer is the final say yes, but we have a lot of input on this.
Okay.
That meeting that took place here was pretty direct as far as what we thought. And they knew, I think they do have the final say.
And we thought that, and Jeff, you can comment if this is correct. We felt that we were falling under a template that they wanted to establish for the other 15 districts, that this has to go on with, which are interesting from the judges that came to talk to us.
Cruz, I would say that it probably would be prudent to at least take a look at it. I'd hate to think that we're gonna build a brand new building and all of these renovations, and we're gonna have a kind of walkway we have coming in that's really, I think, starting to become a problem.
Sure.
Okay. I think on some of the early concepts, it was kind of reviewed because we were reorienting, some of the entrances. I think with the preferred concept, there really is no change to how that central flag court area is being used at all. It's not gonna generate new traffic, so that's why it was kind of kept out. But I think you're right in that there's an opportunity there to maybe look at that and rehab it as part of the project. And while we have those assets here on site.
Yeah, we'll keep that in mind. I think we also wanna keep in mind the, parking of the entire facility. I know
It's not, respectfully, it's not just panels, it's the entrance area in your basement. I think that we're gonna tap into that entrance.
This will be tied in with the old meter system.
But I think,
The reason why I ask is because it has things to do
I think that's part of the design development phase, really, that level of detail and determining what the existing capacity in the electrical room is and any spare space there, whether, but we can certainly, get back with the committee on.
Because of the, you know, we're gonna get a third off the interest rates from the court system for the court project. My thought would be could we get like a separate proposal from, Clark Patterson to do the design of that? And then the other thought I had is perhaps we could time it so that you can put it out as an alternate bid.
Sure.
So that way, as Ron was suggesting, when they're here, we could be using the same forces, but if we set it up as an alternate bid, you know, depending upon the pricing and everything, we don't have to do it. And then also, it's been separately identified and costed out, both from an
It's really where we're trying to save the costs, to the project, where we're not just putting it over in Clark Patterson to do all of that coordination, and we're also not gonna be developing specs to coordinate moves of courts. We're gonna try and do as much of that in-house, and I think we can do that, in a deliberate, kind of progressive fashion as we move through the phasing.
Dan?
But at some point in time, we are going to have an acoustical consultant review this, because there are certain rooms where we're doing interviews that need to be private, and I know that we've had a problem at the town, we have an interviewing room where everybody in the outside room can hear with the interview. So, you know, if we had a, acoustical consultant, we might be able to avoid that.
Right.
The other thing is too, are we, thinking about going with LED lighting now rather than convert it later?
Yeah, I think everything that we do as we go along, we'll try and control the costs as best as we can and stay within the overall project budget. And also, you know, to Jeff's point, and to answer, Rachel's question a little bit too, is, one of the things that we've experienced with the county on the Human Services Building is that this group is, very responsible with their spending. So, I mean, we anticipate being able to work with the county to control the costs, not let things creep out of, you know, get out of hand. So if we end up being able to look at things like LED, and that's important to the county, absolutely, we'd like to give you the best bang for your buck, you know, give you as much as you can get for what we programmed here at concept level.
Is there any chance that if we go to LED lighting up front, that NYSERDA might help fund that?
I'm not the NYSERDA expert in your.
Hey Frank, didn't we have discussions, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but Tony came here, Tony's our electrical engineer. I think we had some discussions already on LED and the lighting, Frank, at our meeting that we had here. I think Tony is looking into that.
Yeah, and they're actually doing a survey now on the entire building, to
Well, that's what I mean, so
cost
we're
out.
convert, and we'll save, and the payback, at least the town we got somebody, the payback will be 5 to 7 years.
Right.
But if you're building a new building, you just, instead of doing the conversion, do it up front, save that cost. And, how are we gonna heat this? Are we thinking about thermal at all, or?
I know when we did the Human Services Building, we had looked at geothermal, and we did a bid alternate to, look at geothermal, and it didn't turn out to be cost effective at this site at that time for the Human Services Building.
Yeah. So are we thinking natural gas and traditional heating systems, or what?
We do have a mechanical unit rooftop to serve phase 1 and 2. I think we're going to at least address some of the concerns with windows, doing some radiant panel work in some of the existing spaces. We are, Frank, I think we are tapping into continued use of what's there mechanically, but also supplementing with radiant panels because of the chill. But I think we're going with a rooftop unit in the addition.
Ron?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just curious, why did you specify NYSERDA, exclusion on NYSERDA? What were you thinking? And then you could have listed a dozen.
Well, frankly, coordination with NYSERDA does tend to get time consuming with, some of their regulations and comments back and forth. Our mechanical, head of our mechanical group specifically said, when he projected his hours for this project, he wasn't assuming that NYSERDA coordination would be part of it.
Okay.
If you'd like to have us revisit that, we certainly can.
No, I just thought, you could list it a dozen agencies, but you specifically list, I was just curious as to,
Based on experience.
There's a lot of cost benefit analysis, inventorying, there's a lot of.
do we anticipate NYSERDA, involvement in the project? I guess it's a specific question. Are we anticipating any NYSERDA?
Had those conversations happened? Frank, did you talk to Dave Hart about that? Not to put you on the spot, but I wasn't sure if.
No, we haven't talked about that specific to this project.
Yeah, we have, we're just amongst the whole group, it hasn't been part of the conversation.
Yeah, I think that, as long as we don't anticipate, at this range, as long as we don't anticipate NYSERDA involvement, I don't have a problem specifying it here. However, if we think there might be some NYSERDA involvement, we should try to quantify it sooner rather than later would be
Sure.
my only comment.
Well, I'm just
Go ahead, John.
a little bit concerned about designing and building a building that's energy efficient, so that we will save money in the long run. And we have some foresight. And we didn't put the least expensive things in because they were the least expensive things. The windows, there could be energy saving windows and insulation and so forth, and designs to be, because I see, part of my thinking was, well, we're gonna leave out the LED certification. Well, you know, in my mind, we should make every effort to be as LED certified as possible.
Yeah, a good point, and I think, our designers, you know, over the years, more and more now, it's becoming more commonplace to provide, the efficiencies, green building types of, you know, products and, design. The actual LEED certification, there's an effort that goes along with that, there's a point system for LEED, I'm certainly not an expert on LEED, but I know there's a point system that gets you LEED gold, LEED silver, I think, and is there a platinum level?
Extensive documentation gathering.
So it's the documentation gathering that gets you the LEED certification, you know, so that people say, oh, this building achieved LEED gold certification. The documentation to that is the recognition of your efforts as opposed to, you know, doing the work and getting the benefits of it. So we do intend to provide the benefits of whatever makes sense for you, you know, for the efficiencies, just not following, you know, not going through that documentation effort.
Yeah, well, I
That makes
understand
sense.
that as long as we're making the effort.
We are making
going
the
in
effort,
that
that's,
direction.
it's become, yes, absolutely.
Anything else? We have had, some discussions, Rachel, with, our experience. Most notably, the human resource building is when my early years here, tenure. There was issues with the building not located in the proper place, 20 feet off, drop ceilings dropping, and windows not insulated properly. So, as we do our discussions with Clark Patterson moving forward, why do those things happen when we have inspectors, we have people on board that are supposed to be checking our interest? In some of the stuff that I found out early on was that our departments heads were not as involved as they should have been, which they want to institute, and Clark Patterson also has some initiatives where they're involved with the design and the inspection, et cetera. There seemed to be some fragmentation of how we did it before, and then a lot of finger pointing that went around in a hamster wheel fashion. We're looking to avoid that, not saying that there aren't gonna be problems, there aren't gonna be mistakes that do happen, but we're looking at what the best way is, that everyone is involved and the checks and balances are in place as we proceed forward. Because you can see, everything can't be just done all at once. There's a flow to it. We'll address the outside needs, the renovation needs, the new construction, the movement of all this. So the choreography in how we work in unison will depend on the success of the project. And I think Clark Patterson has proved that they do very well with Warren County, and we're happy to have them, and they're very thorough with how we move forward. I think you'll see the reports coming back in our monthly meetings so that your involvement and your questions will be answered as we move forward, and we get a better understanding of how we derived at all the concepts and what we actually institute and end up living with moving forward. We've already had some compromise with design, best put by how Evelyn addressed it and some of that frustration. But we're gonna move forward, we're gonna get a product that is vital and sorely needed, that we've put off for many years, and we actually get an added judge, So there's a lot of good things that we're looking forward to out of this.
No, and Chairman, I really appreciate that. I know that you're learning a lot from experiences in the past, and I think that's just the key. And that a lot of these conversations have to take place outside of committee meetings. I mean, clearly you can't have all the committee members there. So the information that we get ahead of meetings and at meetings are very helpful. And I, certainly support, John's concerns here with making it as environmentally friendly as possible. And I think as you've noted, you've got your department heads much more involved, and, I appreciate that. It's a learning experience for me, but one that I'm sure John will attest to in Queensberry, we're asked all the time about it. So, it's good to be, up to speed on it and able to answer those questions, so I appreciate that.
And I think this was great today. I mean, there's a lot that's gone on, and I think it's represented by the questions that you guys have asked today, and we're only in the infancy of this project. So I think that sends a message to Matt and John as to where we're at as a committee and as a whole body. And they really are very responsive to anything. That I think Jeff will attest to that, and Frank. So I think we're in good hands moving forward. Jeff?
Yeah, I'll just add that there are choices as we move along on some of those alternatives, on certainly some of the major components and major features of the construction. So I want to ensure the committee that this isn't the last time you're going to hear about it until we open the doors on the new wing. We'll be reporting back. Certainly, myself and my engineers will be engaged on a continuous basis with Matt and John and their team. And, we will be giving you periodic updates and bringing to you those bigger decisions. If we had something that's not an obvious choice from an owner's perspective, we will bring it for discussion and weigh the pros and cons, so that we can keep the project moving. But that's really that connection. As an owner's representative, it's, myself and my engineers, we're planning long-term, and I think, Matt and John have shown that they're not just trying to get to the end of this project and move on to another client. They're thinking long-term as well. So if there's benefits to certain features in the design that will serve out and benefit the county for, the next 40 and 50 years, those are the way we're really looking at these decisions. We're not going to be bringing color swaps on, carpet samples for decisions, but the bigger, I just want to ensure you that the bigger decisions will come back for some discussion. And I would just ask that if there's certain particular items that you're concerned about or you have questions on, please direct them to me, and I'll certainly get you answers. And if we need to discuss it in committee, if there's something critical that maybe you feel we need to incorporate in the design, maybe we'll get some consensus on those so that we're not inflating the cost of the project needlessly, but at the same time we want to be proud of the project when we're done, and we want to be proud of it for 10 and 30 and 50 years ahead. So that's our goal.
Any other discussion before we call for a motion to put this on the floor? Approval for Clark Patterson Work Task 4